What's happening, everybody? This is Antoine from High Desert Pythons back. And if you did not watch this facility tour video, I'm telling you, you are missing out. It'll be up here, but you crazies, don't go to it just yet. I got my brother Andrew from Redwood Reptiles here, and we just had a good time, man. We've been chopping up so much, so I want to get a lot of this stuff on video so you guys can listen, man, and just, so get to know my man real quick and, learn how he came up in the ball python industry and how he's going to come in and destroy the game in the next couple of years, all right? So just for those of you who don't know him, introduce yourself real quick, man.
Well, most of you aren't going to know me because just got into this not too long ago. My name's Andrew, Redwood Reptiles. I started early last year, and I decided pretty quickly that I wanted to try and, down the line, turn this into something more than just a hobby. So that's what I started doing, and I'm here. I've met a bunch of cool people in the community that have, helped me in my journey, give me a lot of information, that saved me a lot of time, a lot of headache. But I'm enjoying the ride so far and looking forward to where it's going to go.
What I do like about a lot of guys coming up in the last 2 or 3 years, I feel like compared to 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, it seems like more and more people are doing it the right way. And what I mean that is establishing connections and getting to know people and putting yourself out there and listening to all the advice that a lot of people like me and a lot of other people been around longer who had a shoulda, coulda, wouldas about what I should have did early on, what I could have did early on, So for example, when you look at his collection in the video, you'll see that he's real heavy female based. But not only that, he's got some killer females, I don't know too many people that starts off their breeding with a red striped clown, like Gotham stuff and things like that too. So, just making the early investments and investing in your projects and trusting the process it's the way to do it, man. So, I want to talk about that mostly today because I was going to do a separate video this week that I was going to have out a couple of days ago where I wanted to talk about the best way to start off your program, especially if you're going to be a breeder for a profit and make money. And I'm tired of the narrative of people being scared to talk about money. Exactly. I hate that. I think it makes no sense to where if you're going to spend thousands of dollars on something, at the very least, you should want to break even in the first couple of years, there's hobbies we all have. I like jet skiing and doing water sports and shit like that. But, I expect stuff like that to me to not make any money off because I don't think I'm going to be the best jet skier in the world and get sponsored by Red Bull, So, but things like this that you actually can make money off, you may as well. So putting yourself out there on social media, having a good Instagram and YouTube and participating in everybody else's stuff, and doing crazy collabs like this, man, it's just one of the base ways to start establishing yourself. Because, let's face it, a lot of us are making the same stuff, So, in my eyes, what makes you different from somebody who has no presence at all, or hasn't been around? You guys came around at the same time. And am I going to spend my money on buying a Gotham from that person who I don't know from Adam? Or if I see you on Instagram, see you in the comments on YouTube, and see your channel, and seeing what you're working with and what you put together, who am I going to trust more?
Yeah.
So,
well, and that's the thing is I don't think there's a generic answer to that. I think me personally, it boils down to two things. Okay. Well, it's centered around two things, but it's who you want to spend your money with. Who do you feel comfortable spending all that hard-earned money that you're earning to buy these expensive animals, and the quality of the animals. So, there could be somebody that just rubs you the wrong way that you really don't like, that you don't feel like spending money with, but they have really high-quality animals. That's a tough decision. Me personally, going forward, my goal is to try and invest and produce it may be a simple 3-gene codom combo, but the best 3-gene codom combo I can create. So focus on the nuances of the genes and what makes them special, the contrast, the color, and try and infuse, animals that will work well with it that are also of high quality. So I think that's super important, which is where the money aspect comes in. And to Antoine's point, I've said I wish there was more info out there on money and the mindset that you shouldn't talk about money, then why are we talking about this as a business at all? Why are you talking about what you're going to produce if you're not just planning on keeping everything? There's nothing wrong with recouping an investment, and it's just like anything else you invest in, you got to know what's going to cost, You're not just gonna invest in anything. Oh, let's not talk about money. It's like buying, like I've said before, it's like buying a car. We gotta know what you're gonna pay for it. So, it only does you good.
Right. And let's talk about. I know when we were looking at your collection that you really harped on a lot of projects you had, just because not only from a business standpoint, but it's stuff that you like to look at because it was appealing to you. So talk about the balance that you like to have between having projects that you enjoy keeping yourself and vice the ones that you're going to produce to kind of go for profit, and kind of a happy medium between like the stuff you like and the stuff you want to sell, and kind of keeping back the best stuff for yourself. So
yeah, I think for me it boils down to what I can handle. I'm nowhere near doing this full time. It's something that I'm doing alongside of a full time job. So I don't have all day to plan out to care for hundreds of animals. So a big part of it is what I'm able to handle, what I'm able to take care of responsibly. So as far as I'm not going to just infuse my collection with a bunch of animals that I don't see a future benefit in or potential to, just because I like the way they look. I've got maybe a handful of animals that I don't really know what direction I'm going to take them, but I do like the way they look and I enjoy them. So for me personally, the vast majority of my focus is on future plans, breeding plans, and turning this into a legitimate business. And I'll sprinkle in a couple animals here and there that I like. However, going forward, I'm a little bit more reluctant to do that, just because I see all the time and effort and care that goes into to taking care of a collection. And that's something you can harp on people that are just getting into it, like myself. I was the same. I was hard-headed. Everyone says, oh, it's going to take this, that, and the other, and you don't realize it until you actually dedicate nights and days, and you're like, shit, this is a lot of work. And but just like anything else, you're not going to be successful at it if you don't enjoy actually spending time with the animals and cleaning their crap out. So it's just par for the course, but at the same time, there's only so many hours in a day. So that's kind of how I look at it. I'll allow myself that animal here and there, but for the most part, I'm focusing on breeding for profit down the road.
When you came up with your initial plan, when it came as far as the equipment went, did you go snakes first and then get like just racks to hold them in, or did you pick, hey, I'm gonna go with ARS ahead of time before you did that?
No.
What was the thought process behind that?
So my thing was stereotypical first year breeder stuff. I just wanted to, like Miguel said in the past, I just wanted to open drawers and see snakes. I didn't have racks. I had built my own, and they were great for about, a couple months, and then they weren't great, and they were heavy as hell. And at that time, I didn't have a ton of money to invest into the snakes themselves as it was. After a couple months of purchasing snakes here and there, I tapped into my savings, which is how I was able to get some of these animals, or all this stuff, to be honest. And it's not like I had a ton of it. I pretty much blew the whole thing, and so I'm all in with this project. But that was when I was able to have a little bit more money to play with. It wasn't a ton. I still had a budget for sure, but I think I made a responsible decision in purchasing actual professional racks, and they're much more pleasant to work with, and they're gonna pay for themselves. I actually wish I would have bought more racks and less snakes, but you live and learn. So you get these racks, and then you're like, oh, I'm gonna have all this space to fill them up with animals as you go, right. And then you're like, oh, I need to fill these 5 drawers because there's nothing in them. So
I'm gonna put you on the spot now, man. This is gonna be for the Team Freedom Breeder, Team ARS. Why did you go with ARS over Freedom Breeder?
To be honest, I don't know. I liked the way they look. I like the simplicity of them. Was watching a lot of mutation creation videos. They had ARS racks. A lot of people had ARS racks. I'm noticing a transition now with everyone switching to Freedom Breeder. I very much like the way Freedom Breeder looks. I don't like the way that steel can rust, and I don't like the non-magnetic aspect of it. And I don't like the price tag. That's not to say they're overpriced, because I understand what goes into the construction of them, but it didn't make sense to me to shell out that extra money for something that I wasn't super happy with, or I wasn't, so much more happier with than with these racks. So, looking at it now, they function great. I don't dislike the way they look, and price point, you know, mostly price point, but I like them both.
And these are the hybrid ones, or
these are the hybrid ones.
So those are ones that come like in 1,000 pieces, and you got to put together yourself.
Yeah, but you know what? it took like 2 hours. You know, the first one I got took like 14 hours because I was filming it. It was my first thing I was filming, and it turned out to be complete trash. But setting up shots, it took forever. But the second one was like 2.5 hours, and it's just super redundant and tedious. But I thought they were pretty easy.
Yeah, to me, my biggest gripe with the Freedom Breeder style racks is just that I couldn't put the magnets on there and label it where I like, because even with my put together rack that's made out of powder coated steel with the ARS tubs, I can put my labels on there, and I like the way it looks. Like, I don't want to put like the little sleeves on the tubs and stuff like that too. So.
Well, that's another thing too for cleaning is that, and I appreciate it with the 70/30 because I haven't filled that, so I have a bunch of extra tubs. So I'll have tubs ready to go, and if I have to, do an entire tub change, then I can take the dirty one out, throw the clean one in there, and put the snake transition super quick. And you can, ideally, I wish I had an extra tub for every snake because the cleaning process, you could do that outside, but getting them in their clean tubs is a lot quicker. But if it's not magnetized and you're taking the card out, you're I don't know. I just feel like those things are gonna tear, and maybe not, but it just seems like a lot of extra work.
Yeah, just like I have like photographs of some of my racks with labels on them, and it's just or like the other side of the sticker that actually permanently stuck to the bar instead too.
Yeah.
Which turns out fine but if you want to move them somewhere else, it gets weird that way. You know what I mean? So I just think that some of the males that I know I have that I can move with those labels are in certain racks, and then the permanently fixed ones are in the Freedom Breeder ones.
Yeah.
So
and with the feeding system, I kind of adopted Billy's system with the magnets where, once can I see this?
We can probably go zip to it.
So once I throw a rat in, I just take the label or the name tag off and put it on top of the tub. Let me know that there's a rat in there. Once they hit it, then I'll shift the position of it, so it's very efficient as far as feeding goes as well. To have the magnets.
Yep, my feeding system with mine is if it's a rat in there, I turn it like 90 degrees, and if they refuse, the label is completely upside down like that. And then I'll go through like that, and I know once they eat, I'll go back from the beginning and then put it back to normal. So I know they finish. And this.
I was doing the 90 degrees too, but every time I pull the top one, I knock it off. I was like, I gotta figure something else out.
Yeah, so I have my little system for that, and I have like my little egg sticker, label, and then if they laid already, I know to get food back in them and stuff like that. But then I have like little circular stickers. If it's time they need to be bred, it's a little pink sticker on there. I don't know why I pick pink, but it just kind of catches my eye more.
Right.
So yeah, everybody has a cool little system and stuff too. And then I see you have like a dry erase board in here too. So you just kind of do you track your pairings with that, or what do you do with your?
Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll track it on like a spreadsheet type thing, and but while I'm in here, if I'm pretty busy usually, so it's easier just to write it down on a whiteboard. Maybe if some animals didn't eat that week, I'll notate it. If they eat the following week, I don't put it in the spreadsheet. But if it becomes more consistent, then it's just good to see the pattern for me personally. But I'll take it from the whiteboard and put it into a more permanent program. But that's been awesome for me as far as jotting down ideas, different pairings, planning things out, and it just helps, unpack my brain a little bit better to be able to see it on a whiteboard. So.
I just love the organization that you have when it comes to things like that. And, a lot of people say that they like to get their bones in anything they do, but like messing up, So a lot of people, like me being a dad and having like pretty much adult kids now, I like to tell them, dude, like, you can actually learn things from other people's screw ups and then having your own, you know? So, early on, I had a real problem with taking advice from people just because I was so jaded, because there were like half of the breeders that I knew and kind of came up with were giving people the wrong advice on purpose, just so that way they wouldn't succeed. And a lot of those guys aren't around anymore. I say like 90% of them are like gone now too. So what I like that is you take advice from people like when you watching like podcasts and listening to watching videos and things like that too. You can see a lot of people do stuff from different perspectives. Like with me, whenever I talk about stuff, I always say this is my caveat. This is what works for me. So especially, and I bring it up because, dude, you got a sea serpent freaking hot box incubator, bro. You know what I mean? You didn't get like, let me get this little shitty refrigerator and like make this computer fan in there. Like you went out and got you, and how much? This is the 50, one of those 55.
No, that was 27.
The 27 or something like that.
Shit, yeah, it was like little. It was like $1,300.
Yeah, so I mean, you ain't got a hot box incubator off the rip, which is like probably one of the best incubators out there, except like this one, and there's a couple in Canada and things like that that kind of go neck and neck. But you went with quality first, so that way and it makes sense too, because if you got Sunsets you're breeding and Gothams and things like that, and you having these real like high value clutches, why would you put it in like a little wine cooler that you paid $50 for? That kind of makes no sense, So when you're having a risk and you having like you got to think of them as commodities almost too. Like you don't want to go, like you don't want to put something that's valued in thousands of dollars in an $80 piece of equipment.
You're not going to put a Ferrari in a carport.
Right. It makes no sense at all, So you want to make sure you're protecting your investment, and that's a really smart move, man. Like, and the only reason why I haven't purchased me like a hot box incubator is because like my system that I have, no matter what's been in there, what little tweaks here and there hasn't been working. So to me, it's kind of if it's broke, don't fix it. Like,
right.
If my incubator decides to crap itself out one year, I'm going to go ahead and buy a hot box, but.
Yeah, and I just realized what I said. I didn't mean to call the DIY incubators carports. I was trying to think of an analogy. It didn't come out very good. But yeah, you know what it was I didn't want to take the chance.
Yeah.
It's not that they're super difficult to do. A lot of people make videos on them, and it's probably pretty easy. I just have this weird thing in my brain where I feel like it's just gonna go wrong. And like he said, if you have a clutch that the eggs are gonna hopefully average, even if they're only averaging $500 or $300, and you have an average of 6 eggs, that's $1,800, and you already pay for the incubator, and you make some on top of it. But my thing is like, if I get to a point where I have multiple clutches that I'm relying on the money or that are super important to me for other reasons, I just didn't want to take the risk. And with as expensive as this hobby can be, I just figured buy once, cry once. That's how I am with tools. That's how I am with other things, and so. It's kind of what I thought with this, but yeah, I mean, people have them. I think they look badass when they get those big beverage coolers.
Yeah.
Or like the monster ones, and those look sick. I think they look cooler than this, but so if that works, yeah, by all means, I'm not gonna be one. Oh, you need to get this. No, that's stupid.
Yes, even with the one that I have, it took a couple of years to get right. Because I overdid it with the Flex Wad and didn't realize that less is more. And going back to learning from other people's mistakes, I've had people actually message me, hey man, you could take out that flex watch you got from the side and go to the floor to the other side and just have the back piece, and that's enough. And I'm like, oh no, I like it the way it is right now. Let me do what I want. And then the way I had it situated on one of my walls facing like the part of my house that's get hot, it's a high noon, it actually was heating up the back of my incubator too, and all that heat tape was spiking my stuff. So one day you walk in there and you had it set for 89, but you just look inside of the and you see the thermometer say 103. That's a problem.
Freak out.
Especially when you got stuff cooking. I live in the desert and it's like mid-July, early August, and it gets super hot around there, and things like that happen. But then when I took it out finally and did what I was supposed to do and just kind of set my temperatures the right way, no problem since. It was just only failures I have in the egg. If it's like a moldy egg, that wasn't going to make it anyway. So I mean, and you learn the hard way, and it was some stuff that I could have used now too a couple of years ago. But
well, I mean, to be honest, like I think it's more rewarding to learn the hard way once you figure it out. If I were to have built one and it worked, that'd be so much more rewarding than having to buy one that somebody else put their effort and time into to work. So it's a small point, but it's something to take away from it. Don't knock it. If it works all day, do it. In my opinion. And that's. Yeah, that, to your point though about people coming in and learning, I think it's super important, and that's one thing I noticed is the level of interactions. It's got to be pretty intense. Like there's a lot of lives to keep up with and podcasts. However, that's really where you make your connections, and that's like a lot of the legwork as far as jumping into the community on a social level, on a networking level. And I do notice, all those stories you hear or that I've heard, I don't see a lot of that. I've seen it a couple times where you kind of get the vibe like, that guy's obviously, has this different mindset. But my mindset, personally, it's like it's been with sports. Whenever I have a coach, or a new job even, whenever I had like a coach or a new boss, I understood they knew way more than I did, okay? I'm coming into this thing totally green. I know what I want to do. I kind of have a vision of what I want to see, but I really don't know how to get there, and I don't know all the pitfalls that I'm going to encounter. So, when I hit up Billy or when I hit up Anthony or you and people that have been doing it for a minute, I'm going to listen to them, because why are you going to bend somebody's ear for an hour and then do what you want anyway?
Yeah.
So I'm like, well, you know more than me. So, like I told Billy when I first talked, I said, dude, I'm a sponge. You tell me what to do and I'll do it. And if I have to tweak things along the way, then it's, it is what it is. But I think that's super important if you want to save some time.
Right. So, and I try to tell people, it's always important to kind of find somebody that you can call or consider a mentor or someone you can reach out to. But with me personally, I have different mentors for every aspect of the game.
Yeah.
So like I have people I talk to when I just want to deal with the business aspect of it and kind of see what their mindset is, because a lot of the people I talk to from the business aspect, they've been successful in other businesses as well. So that's why, like, when I do call people and ask them for advice, like, I know Billy has had multiple businesses, and that's why he does things the way he does. He knows what works and what doesn't work, and he can use all of those good points in this industry. And Miguel the same way, because, like, Miguel and I were in the same industry for a long time, and then we both came over to the Snakes, as well as Billy too. So I know what I've done as far as like running the gym and running a management company, all the things I can use for here, So when it was time to start making my own brand, it was me, taking my own advice. Because having a bunch of MMA fighters who have zero personality, and we kind of like revamp them to get a following, you know what I mean? Because being especially a younger fighter is all about selling tickets. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, what can we do with this guy who's a really, really good fighter but has the personality of a fucking wooden spoon? How do I get this guy to come up without selling your soul? Without selling your soul,
right,
too.
Right,
you know what I mean? Because
you
never want to come off phony,
right.
You know what I mean? But there's some good things about you that can't, like, if I came on the videos all of a sudden, like, hey, this is it, like acting a plumb damn fool. And I can see a lot of times when you watch stuff like that, people aren't being genuine, and when they're having like fake enthusiasm, it comes off as fake enthusiasm, And
it's hard to find,
right?
And it's hard to get real enthusiasm about their fake enthusiasm.
Exactly. Yeah. So like, just talk about the stuff that you enjoy talking about and doing what you enjoy doing. And if you can't do that, that's fine. But you also have to make it to a point where you're producing stuff that speaks for itself, and that's where the balance comes at, Because I would love to be. If I never ever made a YouTube video ever, but I had stuff that everybody on the planet was trying to buy, and all I had to do was post a picture of stuff and say, boom, I make this. If I had that luxury, I'd probably be doing that. Yeah. But, I'm not at that point yet where I have those high level snakes and those powerful gene stuff right now that I can present to the world, and all I can do is present the snakes, and that's it. I have friends that are like that, and like there are friends I've dealt with in the ball python industry. I've never seen their face before. Have not. But I know that dude's got super this blah 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 visual, triple recessive, but when you post a picture, I'm like, hey man, do you care if I post this on my page? Because it looks like on yours, I have like twice as many followers as you do, but you have like 10 times better snakes than I do. I'm like, dude, the world should see this. So I tag him in it. Like, I harp on these guys a lot. I'm not going to call them out today in this video, but there's a lot of friends I have like that, man, that if they market themselves the right way, like, they would be almost close to, like, the next Justin or Ozzy and stuff, too, but they like to move in silence that way.
Yeah.
And because just a lot of people just real big introverts, and they're fine with just kind of staying in their hole and having their niche group of customers so they can deal with time and time again. And that's enough to sustain their business and their livelihood, and that's cool too. But
I think it's interesting. You brought up a point earlier that kind of ties into that. There's a lot of people to talk to that have the business experience. You know what I mean? And to me, what that tells me is all the people that say there's no potential for success in this business, then they're short-sighted, whatever you want to call it. Because if you have successful people or people that have done it over and over, that understand the formula or that understand what needs to be done, and they're drawn towards this industry or this business, and they see the viability in it and the money that can be made, then that's proof positive to me. Because like Billy, like Mike from Insane, I know he was pretty successful with his business. Yourself, a couple other people. It's like, well, these are people that have done it before several times over, had success, and now they're going all into this. Well, regardless of what the commodity is, it's a viable business plan. And people say, oh, you just care about the money. This, like I said before, I don't see how people could be that like dead inside to where, you give them $1 million, if they hate these snakes and they hate cleaning snake shit and piss and feeding them, whatever. There's no fucking way they would do that for you. You ain't gonna be able to do it, and so you have to either like it or not mind it, and you have to care about the animals. So when I talk about the money things, I personally, it goes without saying that I care about the animals. I get bummed out if I lose one in the past or what. There's this weird attachment you have to them because they do have their own personalities. But I think that treating it like a business, I've always been impressed by entrepreneurs. I'm not one, but I've always been impressed by successful business people. I
kind of are now.
That's right. Well, no,
you are now.
Well, I'm in deep shit. If this one catches on fire, then I'm back to fucking. I'm gonna sell my body, but $5 an hour. But no, like it's I didn't grow up with a ton of money at all, and so, but I'm not one of these people that demonize successful people either. And I have a lot of respect for successful people because, who employs people? Not unsuccessful people. So, and it just, I understand the grind and the work ethic that it takes, and I respect that. So I think that if you can incorporate that, and I've seen people do it, into this business and have the life you want and have control, and that's really what it's about, in my opinion. It's not about buying boats and shit. It's about controlling the life you have, because we don't know how long we're gonna be here. We care about, it's difficult when you're working a 9 to 5 doing shit you hate.
Right.
It's like you have to squeeze in your pleasure time, and that's what my goal is going forward.
And that's the thing too, man. About when I do hear that people kind of harp on that, I'm like, oh, you don't care about the animals, dude. There's a lot more. There's other things that you can do that you can invest your money in and make money a lot faster than scraping snake poop all the damn time and waiting 2 years 3 years, 4 years for a female to get up size to make your money back. Yep. You have to like it. You have to enjoy doing this thing. So when people tell me, oh, you invested, dude. Okay, so last year I put well into 5 figures in snake stuff and things like that too. I could have just stuck that in a bunch of stocks and made that money back too, Yeah. I could have just did that and played the stock market and invested in some other things here and there and different commodities. But I mean, in a sense, this is almost like playing the market. It's playing the Morphmarket, pun intended.
Yeah.
but
boom, sponsor.
So that's just the way to think about it. If you can still have them as animals you care about and still also have them as a commodity as well. And that's another point I want to go over too. And having the discipline to not sell your stuff until the right time and things you can hold on to. So for example, right now a female baby clown costs how much if you bought one right now?
That's the wrong dude, but I'm gonna say like $400, $500.
$400, somewhere like that too, right? So. I learned. So I did the math a couple years ago on like raising up males and females from hatchlings to breeder adults. It cost me out of my pocket anywhere between $135 to $150 to raise up an adult female, right? So with that $400 price tag, add the $135 on that. So let's say $550, right? Now, I spent $550 on this animal, or I would have if I just sold it, right? And now I got an adult female here that's worth $2,000. That's the long game. If you're in it for the short run and you're just moving your stuff right away, you're not going to get anything from it. So now, think about this. I can sell this female now. I got a $2,000 profit off of this after I spent $135 on feeding it. Or I can take that single gene clown female and go through the racks of any, meeny, miny, mo, or multi-gene clown male, and I can do my red stripe banana spot nose clown male to her. And then I can get those babies, keep a bunch of females back, but take a bunch of males I don't need from those and make $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 back from that. So that's the kind of person you got to decide you want to be. You want to make the short game and sell stuff as babies and get the minimum amount of money off of it, or do you want to raise these things up, put some money into your investment, take care of them, spend the time into it, and kind of build on top of that? You know?
That's 100%. And initially, I didn't think like that, and I thought quick return, and I 100% absolutely subscribe to that philosophy. And Billy, I keep bringing his name up, but I talk to him frequently. He coined it, or I don't know if it was him or Will from Will Morals said it, but they said that they want to have a mature collection, okay? And he broke it down, and essentially, like if you could have, let's just, for example, let's say you take 3 genes you like, three recessives, and you take a couple racks, or 3 racks, and each rack has clown, desert ghost, pied, whatever. You have options, like you're saying. Yeah. You take that one female clown that costs $400, you raise it up $550, whatever. You can sell it for $2,000, or it could, the possibilities of the potential is limitless. Especially when you start mixing it together. And what my goal is to have a mature collection to where 6, 7, 8 years from now, I can look at my racks and say, okay, I want to make Desert Ghost, but I want to add this, so I'll just put it to this. But I also want to do this, okay, I'll put it to that. So having the options and you can sell stuff along the way and recoup some money. I'm gonna have to do that. But that's where the fun part is for me, in the sense of like strategically planning my breedings. I've got some pairings that I can put together that can recoup quite a bit of money for me that I don't have a ton of interest in at the moment. So, but then I have some that maybe could recoup the same amount, maybe a little bit less, but I wouldn't sell for twice the amount because I want to use them down the road. So long game all day. I don't see the gratification, and I don't see the you could look at just on an economic dollar amount, dollar level, like, okay, so you take a couple visual clowns and you breed them together and you sell the whole clutch off. Okay, now you're left those same visual clowns that the genes have most likely gone down in value over time, and now you're breeding the same amount of babies for less money, and your profit diminishes just because you want that quick turnaround, and it doesn't make any sense, regardless whether it's snakes or whatever it is.
And then piggybacking off of that, like going into projects and things, that's why chasing projects versus innovating into projects is something that was also between 2020, because with the pandemic and the lockdown, you got a lot of time to sit on your hands and think about stuff like that too. And I realized what set a lot of the bigger names up apart from everybody else is that they set the trends themselves because they moved on to things like that. So like I think the example I've heard a long time ago was when Justin bought a lavender albino female, when they first, like 10 plus years ago or whatever. He took it, and instead of trying to make lavender combos with it, a lot of people would get stuff and go, oh, I can try to do all these heads and make lavender combos on top of that. He sent it off and to get it bred to a pied or vice versa or something like that to start making double head dreamsicles right away, So when I see people come out with cool stuff and I'm like, oh man, this is awesome, my mindset now isn't how can I reproduce this?
Right.
Because in most cases, when you see people show stuff off on YouTube or whatever you're watching, and you see this awesome animal, in their brain, I guarantee you 99% of the time, they already have projects to improve on it. So your thinking shouldn't be, I want to make this, I want to make that same animal right there because it looks so dope. If you're doing it because you just like the morph and you want it for yourself, cool. But if you're doing it to make a profit off it, you're already years behind now. Yeah, so when I do, point. So like one of my projects that I talk about a lot too is when the Pompeii came out, I thought it was a dope animal when it learned all the genes, but I took all of those genes and see, is there a step up from those genes, So instead of me trying to chase the Pompeii, I was like, okay, so instead of having a red stripe, yellow belly, spot nose, black pastel clown, I was like, you know what? I have all the ingredients in my racks right now to make a red stripe asphalt mahogany hurricane clown, or a red stripe mahogany spot nose hurricane, put them together too. So I have so many avenues like that, and that's how I like to do with stuff, So and when I saw that, my brain was like, I'm not gonna stop there. I'm like, man, what if you done this a Pompeii but you add an ultramel to it? Yeah, also Pompeii, and then how and then Justin was like the same thing. What if I put cryptic in this? I had a cryptic Pompeii and things like that, or Pompeii or whatever. I just made it up just now. And just when you decide to work on your projects and you see stuff out there use it for inspiration, not to piggyback and copy off of it. Because when you're trying to work on that stuff, once you produce it. Most people, they're chasing Pompeiis. By the time they produce Pompeiis, there's already a next level past that too. So,
Yeah, and that's the cool thing. In my opinion, is brand new to this whole thing. Is I don't feel like I'm trailing behind picking up scraps. Mm-hmm. There's so many genes, so many combos that, like you said, you're not gonna be able to work them all, but you have options. And it's just like the other night, I was trying to figure out what the hell am I gonna. I had this female cinnamon ready to go. I bought her when I probably shouldn't have bought her. I just liked the way she looked, and maybe I saw a combo that had cinnamon that in my head, like you're saying, I wanted to reproduce.
Yeah.
But now I'm sitting here with a different mindset, like what the hell am I gonna pair to her? And I just decided, well, I don't know, I've never seen a desert ghost butter, cinnamon, and maybe put it with some other stuff. So I actually found a pairing for 2 animals that I was looking for. And I'm gonna see what happens. Yeah.
Check this real quick.
And I'm gonna see what happens. So, it worked out, or it didn't work out, but in my mind, that's what I'm gonna pair up. And I think that having little epiphanies like that can kind of alter your perspective on going forward. Like I'm really excited to do stuff with the sunset, to improve upon it, or to make it what I think it could be. I really like the Mandarin, and seeing what Miguel's been doing with the Mandarin, that shit's super exciting. The way it hits with Pied, like that's sick. And I think just more and more things are gonna start coming out. Obviously Justin's always pumping out crazy shit. Billy's got crazy stuff going on. A lot of people got stuff. Ozzy, big names, yeah, but super inspirational because, and not in the sense of trailing them and trying to copy them, but taking what they've done and infusing something else into it that might do something. You never know. And initially it can be daunting to new people, I think, getting into it, saying, man, I got to wait 2, 3, 4 years for this, and I got to wait 6 years for this. But it's almost been a year, and it flew by, 1. And 2, you're never going to get there if you don't start sometime. So you're not going to be able to buy right now, these females that are adults because they're cash machines. And they're producing, and there's so many things to build upon. So if you want to be in that position, just like I tell myself, if I want to be in that position, then I've got to sacrifice a little bit, but that's why I've got other pairings that are going to help me kind of sustain my investment.
Even with some of the simpler stuff too, like I still have het pies and het clowns in my collection that will probably never leave. Because like I bought a het clown female 4 years ago that was like 600 grams. I paid $125 for her. And if she never proved out to be het clown, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna make sure I put some powerful stuff to her. If I got beat over the head for this female, then I can still have some good stuff to pile on top. She proved out before all the other het clowns have proved out now, and she sits there, and I could sell this thing for $500 or whatever they go right now. But if I'm making an average of about $6,000-$7,000 a clutch off her and holding back a whole bunch of stuff too, because I'm breeding visual stuff to her, and then it's a 50-50 shot where I get the visual clown combo. Like, I'm not getting rid of her, man. It makes no sense. Het pies right now. I got a het pie female still to this day. She's like 9 years old in my racks. If I were to sell her, I only get $150 out of her. Or I could put her to the Mojave, Leopard, Pastave, Hypo, het pie male, and just kind of, blow it up because she's proven. You know what I mean? So
well, yeah, and to that point, it's almost like the way I look at it, and the way I kind of like picture it is, it's like a ball club. Like it's like say you own a baseball team, right? And you're gonna build with your budget, with your salary cap. You're gonna build the best team you can build, and obviously you're gonna be thinking down the road, right? So you're not gonna want some dude in his last year. You want a guy with a little bit of life. But once you get the machine rolling, then it starts drawing in other things. It's just like my whole thing was, let me see what I can throw together with all the crap that I wanted to put into the collection, which was admittedly too much shit. But because then I have a little bit of a lot of different things. But be that as it may, I was trying to build the best collection I could with the budget I had, and I was thinking ahead, just not far enough ahead. So now, I'm fine tuning that thought process, and but I don't know, it's tough, when you're just getting into it. Like you're looking for that perfect advice, and I don't really think there is any, because a lot of it's trial and error. A lot of it's just eating a shit sandwich every now and then. and figuring it out. But yeah, I agree with you. You can have a simple animal that create like a single gene pied. You can get for $350 a female. You wait a year and a half, 2 years if she eats good, and you could make some cool shit with her.
Too, you know. And then another thing I like to have in people's minds when they start, like, you know, every breeding season you come in, especially if you just have like a season or the fall time comes in and you're trying to decide what you want to do. I have my short-term goals and my long-term goals, my goals too. So I have 4 and 5 year plans about what I want to make in that time frame. But they're always going to change. You know, sometimes you might think, okay, I want to make, you know, this 4 or 5 gene combo this or triple recessive this. And sometimes you might see somebody beat you to it and you look at it, you're like, ew. Yeah. You're like, all right, let me change that, you know. Ooh. So it's always good to have backup plans, just like it's always good to have backup males, you know. So a lot of times, dude, I've had combos I wanted to see, man, and I saw the double recessive and even the triple, and I was like, it's just, I don't like it, you know what I mean? No. And then you also can see, sometimes you don't know how certain genes interact or whether they're allelic or not. Like every week now, there's a new allelic gene. Yeah. Something's compatible with this, and you can never do this, and this doesn't come out the right way.
Chaotic.
Yeah, it's super chaotic. So yes, it does change, but at least just have a basis of where you want to go throughout the years with your collection, and keep the stuff that's going to help you further that. Anytime you do a breeding with 2 animals, most of the time it should be to improve on top of it, not to just flatten this stuff out, you know. So like
if you have 2 years,
because you lose the time on it and the value's not going to be the same every time. Right. You know, what's the point of doing pinstripe pied to pastel pied every year and just getting, you know, whatever, like lemon blast pieds or, you know, just crazy stuff like that. Like, I mean, that's a crazy example, but you know what I mean by that too. So if you're not really trying to improve on it and make it better every time, then what's the point? You know,
diversify.
Right, diversify.
That's the thing.
So when you're doing like, and the same thing people are doing with like the double recessive projects and things like that too, like make sure that you're stacking other genes on top of it, because now when you decide to later, it's just gonna reset you, you know.
That actually changed recently.
Yep.
Thinking about it like that, and I changed some plans that I had with some males. You know, like I said, sunset I like, but if I pair a sunset to a normal, that's not, you know, if you break it down, it's not very exciting. It's not very profitable, and it doesn't make a lot of sense, you know, odds wise. But I was gonna pair it to a pied, just a base gene pied, and then I started thinking more about stacking it. It's like, why am I trying to pair it to a single gene pied? I'm gonna get a normal looking snake. It's gonna be double het, cool, but why not pair it to the firefly pied? That's at the same size, ready to go also. And then at least I can get some codoms on top of the double heads, and it jacks up the value and the capabilities of that animal exponentially when you have multiple codoms layered on top of it.
Right, and like a lot of people like to open up their drawers and look at cool stuff all the time too. So I have double heads and triple heads in my collection and things like that. Some of them are just normal just because that's what happened with the odds. But I have Pastave, double head, G-stripe clown, hypo, you know what I mean? There's things like that up there too, that if I hit the odds on that, it just won't be a G-stripe clown. G-stripe clowns already exist. How many Mojave G-stripe clowns have you seen?
Yeah.
How many super pastel Mojave G-stripe clowns have you seen? There aren't any. But I got a 1 in 512 chance of making it. Yeah. But the thing about it is, having both of the parents, I can keep doing it until I hit it. Or if I make better stuff from the offspring, I can kind of, if I do have, you know, if I get a visual clown this time, that's possible this, or hit the double at least from one of the babies, I can breed that male back to the female or from a different project like that, and now just cut my odds down that way. It's the super, super long game, but I mean, you can get something to make it better from that breeding. So.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that Will said the other night that struck a chord with me was not a lot of people have certain double heads to work with. So, for instance, I'm not super excited about making 50% heads. I will if it just happens to work out that way, but I'm not going to plan a pairing around a 50% head.
Right.
So the thing is let's say you get, you know, a nice double head normal. Let's say you get like what I did with the Sunset Desert Ghost. Like, that's cool. I'm super excited about that. However, not a lot of people have double het, or, you know, I haven't seen a double visual, but they don't have anything to pair that with that makes it worth the value that you think it might be. So a lot of these normal double and whatever hets turn into wholesale items, and it's not. So it totally makes sense, because if I have, let's say I have a Sunset and I see a double head sunset desert ghost that's also fire and inchy and yellow belly,
Yeah.
I'll be like, all day shoot it, like, and I'm gonna try and make, transfer the desert ghost, but it's worth it at that point, when you have the codoms. If it was just, just the one sunset I had and it was a double head that they were selling for $2,500, I don't know if I'd pull that trigger. I probably wouldn't.
Especially when you stacking the G's that you want. A lot of times, man, it's just cool to have those. If you're trying to go for just like a double recessive, and it might be a possible triple, but if your focus is on a double and you take the chance putting those together, eventually you will have these surprise recessives pop up in your collection.
Yeah.
I always laugh at myself about the Dream Single project. Like, I failed on it multiple times, but I'm putting the head lavender stuff into an Asphalt Pie project that I'm not really focusing on the lavender, but I plan on holding back so much stuff that there's almost a guarantee that a couple of those females will end up being head lavender albino. So when I finally decide to get to the breeding that's going to make the super asphalt pied and the super inchy super asphalt pied, it's going to be a good chance that with all those females I have in those racks putting that project together, that I'm going to have super inchy, super asphalt dream signals. And I'm like, oh man, that's good.
But you had a different goal the whole time.
Right, but it wasn't my goal. And I'm fine with that too,
right.
So, I mean, it's just going to be residual stuff that you just have to deal with. Like, and I mean, I'm fine with it, so.
But that makes sense though, even on a investment perspective, because you're still focusing on what you're getting out of it, but you can get additive. So. That's awesome. Yeah, for sure.
And it just hitting it at different angles and stuff too, So, I mean, everybody that's working a double recessive, I'm sure, will want to have 2.8. After you hitting that, it's going wow, but more than likely, you might do 1.3, and then you have to deal with that. And then the one out of those three might not get the size anytime soon or might die off. And then the male might not make it, too. Yeah. But at that point, you should be looking at trying to get a more powerful male to reduce your odds.
Right.
Like, I have a clown pod project, but I have 2 females and I have a male from that project as a backup, but now I have a visual clown pied. So if for some reason I don't do that with the 1 and 4, I can at least still try to go for it in one of the breedings, So, I mean, just all about cutting those chances in half. But, from that standpoint, even though you put the Punnett square together, the numbers you get, I've seen people hit 1 in 16s, like with 3 eggs all back to back, and I've seen people with 50-50 shots not hit what they were looking for.
I see Miguel do 1 in 16s a lot.
Yeah,
that's dope. Like, I love watching this video because this dude's got.
And what's funny about that is when people don't realize, let's go with simple like incomplete dominant stuff, right? And you're doing like 2, 3, 4 gene stuff and trying to hit that without any recessives at all, and the odds of hitting what you want is 1 in 16 for that. Mm-hmm. But you hit a normal in that clutch, you still hit the odds because the odds of hitting that normal was a 1 in 16.
Right. Well, yeah,
it's technically the other way. You did hit the odds, so it's just the other way around.
You're always gonna hit the odds.
Yep.
Just I don't know which one you get.
Which one you going for too. So in most cases, when you look at like that from like those bare bones genes, the multi gene you get and the normal is the same exact ratio, and people forget about that.
But I think that's like that's the exciting part of it is taking the chances.
Yep.
And like people that are doing that are exciting to follow because I don't care whether they can afford it or not. I don't care whether they have the income to be able to play around with them. They're still doing it, and just like anybody else could. But I love watching people just try shit out, and then all of a sudden they hit this crazy combo, and then it totally it changes the playing field for certain genes, and it makes some more valuable, and it makes it's super beneficial to the whole industry. But it's also exciting when you hit stuff like that, because
And it's crazy when you watch people who chronicle their stuff too, and they get surprised. Like, dude, when Billy hit the monsoon the time and he was jumping and spinning around, I was like, oh shit! And then the first time, and even back in 2015, when Brian hit the scaleless head and hit the super scaleless, and he had a video where he was cutting the clutch. I'm like, holy crap! Like, because especially something that you worked with and people like kind of downplayed you, like, oh man, that ain't gonna be nothing, just because they had a little bit of scales missing on the head and stuff too. And he cut that bad boy open and the camera showed this. I'm like, man, that is nuts, man. So just taking a chance on things, man, and kind of just daring to be different, man. A lot of times, it kind of helps. There are the most successful people in the world wouldn't play it safe.
Right.
Nobody, like, you know,
100%.
You can't go ahead and play safe if you want to. You got to be doing the job that you want the rest of your life. So
that's a very that's something I've touched on even before the snake thing was, like I said, I didn't grow up with money. I didn't grow up poor. You know, I had everything we wanted, but I didn't go to, you know, the people I went to school with, their parents didn't have very high income. So you had a lot of people, like parents, great people. My parents were in the same category, but they're very traditional minded. And, you know, let's get a job, go to school, whatever. Obviously not in that order. But just very rigid when it came to like
cookie cutter,
traditional. Yeah. And that to them, that's the safe way. Well, then I got a permit to go to a high school in a very wealthy neighborhood where all of their parents, well, 90% were successful. And so I started hanging around with these rich kids. And I started seeing them after high school and the risks they were taking. And by the time they were 21, 22, they're rolling around in $120,000 vehicles and still the same person. But what I'm getting at is they saw people taking chances around them. Just like Miguel's kids, they're going to see his dad taking chances. They're not going to be afraid to take chances. Yeah, it could end in failure. However, you're never going to end in success if you're not taking these chances. And I just see that when you grow up around a certain mindset and that's kind of just, you know, ingrained into you, it's very hard to snap out of it. And it is for me too. So I get it, but I also understand the benefit of seeing people take risks and then seeing the success, obviously.
Yeah, and like every industry I've been involved in, I've always latched to people who I know were doing better than me, or I saw them coming up at the same time as me too. So like in the MMA world, like some of my best friends are the coaches. Remember Colin Oyama and John Hackleman, you know, have trained some of the best fighters in the world. I'm picking their heads all the time. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, tell me how you got here. What you have to do to get there. And most of the story is I failed until I didn't fail. You know what I mean? I had to keep trying. You keep going. You know, some days, even as a fight coach, man, there was sometimes like I'd have 5-6 people on the card that I'm coaching, and 5 of those 6 people just got their butts fucking whooped, you know what I mean? Yeah. And now I'm sitting there, but now when I go out there for fighter number 6, I have to have the same energy, the same heart, same dedication. I can't look at this guy that's in the back warming up dejected because everybody else just got the crap beat out of them, you know what I mean? So it's a new person, so it's a new face, a new person every time. And like when dealing with these animals, man, you're gonna have genes you decide to spend your money on that didn't turn out the way you thought it was going to be. You're going to get sick animals from somebody's collection, and then sometimes you might like wipe out part of your collection. Sometimes your facility, you might catch a fire, or your neighbor next door that you didn't know sold meth, burned their house down and caught your house on fire too.
That's actually a possibility.
So these are obstacles you're going to have to go through. So I mean, you can't prepare for everything, but you can prepare how you react to it, you know? So
right. Well, and that's a life lesson I learned a while ago at work. It was my number one goal is not to fuck up. Like, okay, that was my number one goal, not to screw up. But if I did screw up, the most important thing was to not give a shit. And obviously you care if you lose an animal, and I've lost them and it sucks. However, it does you zero good to sulk over it and bitch and complain and say there's no money in the hobby and blah, 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 right? You got to take your lumps and just move on. Yes, you know, you have a goal. It's like, I don't even know what analogy to use, but you don't let that train get derailed. You're traveling somewhere, and just because, you know, you hit something or you're going to hit bumps, but the thing is you can't let it just stick with you. You got to you almost have to be callous about it. Just be like, oh, well, next. Because it doesn't benefit you to get lost in it, and I think it's helped me with as far as like functioning after you fail, you know,
Yeah, it's just sometimes like in fighting, man, we always say you either win or you learn.
You know exactly.
You know,
same thing with this.
Yeah, and a lot of times most of the time the lessons that you pick up is after you're screwing up, because you know if nothing's going wrong. You know, you go through these racks every day, man. You're spot cleaning, you're cleaning up poop, you change your water out, you're looking at your snakes, you're giving them once over, making sure, you know, there's no parasites on them, they have no RI and mouth rot and things like that. If everything goes right to that routine, eventually you will get complacent. Don't care how much you do it. Like you'll go through that. If you go through your racks every day until it's time to breed them, and everything's just, you know, all clear, you know, nothing new or user reported this time.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like a lot of times, you know, like your guard comes out a little bit more and more every time. And then one day, dude, you're gonna open up that rack and you're gonna see a big old bubble come out of one of these snakes nodes, or it's gonna yawn and it's gonna like it has cotton mouth, or at very worst case you pull it open and then your favorite snake is gonna be belly up. Now what do you do from there?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, seriously. I mean, you ain't gonna bring it back to life.
Yeah, you're not going to.
So, that's not an option. But no, that's absolutely true. And it's just like with anything, it's hard to in the moment because it's so disheartening and it's such a bummer. But every time you fail, regardless of what it is, most of the time, it's a learning lesson. You're not going to do it again, And but Tim, to go back to what you said, that's one of the great things about the people that have been in it for a while, like yourself and others, is that you understand the benefit and you're willing to share experiences. So I don't have to waste 2 years of time like you did, or 3 or 4 years, when I can have somebody just tell me. And to me that's extremely invaluable. Like, you can't put a price tag on that. That's time. It's years. So it could be something super simple, and I've experienced that, and I think that that if you understand how the whole machine works, one hand feeds the other. You got people passing on knowledge. We're not going to catch people ahead of us as far as production or whatever. I mean, they're always going to be one step ahead, but that doesn't mean you're out of the game. It just means that you're playing in a different arena. But
and there's a piece of the pie for everybody.
Exactly.
And I think that's the concept now. That sadly has been new the past couple of years. That everybody thinks that there's just this finite amount of animals and breeders that can exist at one time, and that's it. There's still your wholesalers and flippers out there that's always going to exist. Like, you're always going to be able to buy. Someone's going to go to some pet show every year and pick up a bunch of banana males. When they buy like 500 of them, they get them $50 a piece wholesale. That's just the nature of the beast,
Right.
Like, I don't have anything against wholesalers and flippers. I really don't, because they're doing their thing. They wouldn't exist if people didn't buy stuff from them. And honestly, some of my best stuff are from people that I guess got labeled as flippers or whatever like that, and I didn't know ahead of time, but some of those stuff is still thriving in my racks. I've had them for years, but it's just about how you go about doing it, Like, if I buy stuff, it's one thing if I'm purchasing something from, just some random guy, and I didn't even have it sit in my rack long enough to assess his health and see how it's doing or whatever like that, and then 10 days later, it's in the rack with everything else I have, and now I'm just passing out parasitic and sick snakes and things like that.
Yeah.
That's screwed up. That's terrible. You don't want to do that.
No.
But if you having stuff where, you're absorbing collections, you're getting stuff from people, and you're actually putting some time into it and getting them looked at the right way, and then, I don't have a problem with that at all. Some people, when they hear the word flipper, they go absolutely nuts. Oh, F that guy, he just did this and he did that.
I guarantee those people are pissed off about a lot of this shit too, that they complain about on a daily basis.
To me, I don't really go too crazy about it and stuff too. Like, even when Miguel was auctioning his stuff off that he didn't have any use for. So he started off, getting screwed over by some people he bought snakes from that really he kind of maybe spent so much money on, or projects that really wasn't going to be too profitable there, So when you have these 2 gene codom stuff that you're not going to do much for, and you're trying to establish a business out of this, you're going to sell it. So if you're going to be online, you're going to auction the thing off, good, cool. That means if someone's paying for it, somebody could use it.
That's the thing. That's the thing is bottom line, who does it hurt?
Right, so
it seems to me that benefits both parties.
And I haven't heard one thing from anybody who's bought one of those things like, oh man, I bought it from him from some auction and that thing made it 2 weeks, and where are those stories at?
Right.
You hear everything else about Miguel, so where are the stories at? So I haven't heard any of that stuff at all, and I just think that once you start moving a certain way, and you have a vision, man, just go for it and do what you feel is right for you. I don't care about him. That's my personal opinion. Whenever you hear a certain person's name, you see people roll their eyes and they curl their lips and you go, man, I heard blah, 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 did this.
Yeah.
Oh, you heard him, right?
I've never seen one successful person shit on anybody like that.
No.
I've never seen it.
It'll never happen, man. You'll never see Ozzy in the comments with somebody going, man, I wouldn't buy nothing from that guy.
Yeah.
Why he don't
He
care.
wouldn't tell me that. It's like he doesn't. No, it's ridiculous. It's always from people that you shouldn't listen to.
Yeah, so I mean, just like
mildly funny to me.
Just like how many people have you heard say, "Man, there's no money in ball pythons. Why even do it?"
Like Chris Eaton says, all the white trash motherfuckers. And I'm white, so I don't get offended. I love, whatever. But no, it's an analogy. It's true. It's a mindset more than a culture. It's just the mindset that you only got $500, so you're gonna buy fucking $500 snakes. And you hit a wall, big dog. Like that, you ain't gonna go very far with that, and it doesn't take genius to figure it out. But the people that do that are the ones that are bitter about it.
Yep.
And those are the ones that are spitting that line.
And speaking to Chris Eaton, I'm not going to ask you this because it's a real general question, but it's something that I want the people listening right now that's cleaning in the racks to think about too. Anytime people on this podcast, whether they're doing the full segment or the 15 minutes of lame, he always asks, okay, why should a person buy from you when they have a comparable snake versus the guy next door to you or down the street or the bigger breeder that's an hour away from you when you guys get stuff shipped at the same time? So the mindset I want you guys to have for you up-and-coming breeders is, what are you going to do that's going to make them stand out? What are you going to do as a breeder that has that makes it a memorable experience for them, because the last thing I want to do when I spend money with somebody, as soon as I send that money and I feel like I've been had, I never want that. If I feel like if I get the animal in and I don't think that I got everything I did I was supposed to, I'm never going to spend one more red cent with you again, So I'll talk about me, for example. Everybody that I've sold snakes to, I'm Facebook friends with them. I follow them on social media. I have all of their phone numbers. I have their email. I have all their information. And random times you'll see, a lot of my people like Dave and Lee Crenshaw, a lot of those guys. I'll call out of the blue. Hey, bro, just want to make a call and see how those girls are doing, how the snakes are doing, and is there anything you need from me if you have any questions about them? Nah, man, all good. And then we'll go into like long conversations and hanging out. I like to talk about snakes, bro. Yeah. I like think about no matter what you love to do, whether it's a religion or whatever, you want to talk about the stuff you like to do. So if I call those guys, and it's so crazy too, like some of these guys that we came in around the same time that I'll call, and they're like, dude, it's so crazy that you just called me on the phone and stuff. We're talking for 2-3 hours. And it's the same thing with people I bought stuff from or people that's been doing way better than me, that calls me out of the blue and just chatting it up with me too. Like, that's a good feeling. Yeah. So when you have a relationship like that you're spending money with, I like to feel like, like I appreciate you. It's like spending your money with me. Yeah. You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
And I don't even care if you spent $200 on me or if you spent $2,000 on me. I still appreciate it because it kind of helped me out and helped me further my business along, even if it's a little tiny bit. So, like, customer service, man, is always cool. I know I get my biggest gripe about me personally is people harping on the video I did when I was complaining about the worst customers and things like that. But that's just the truth, though. There's people who they'll sit there and waste your time for hours or sometimes even days or even weeks talking about this animal, and they never even going to spend a dime with you. But you still have to treat all of those customers the same, because that one guy that let me speak to my wife, 9 out of 10 times you won't get a call back, but that 1 out of 10, that guy's gonna call you back and be like, okay, let's do it. Yeah. So you have to do that, man. So customers, so if you have comparable stuff you're selling with somebody else, the biggest thing I want you guys to know is that establish relationship with those people, and it is not just a monetary transaction, man. It just doesn't stop there, because when you send that guy something off, like, how dope is it going to be when you have, like, your first clutch and people doing an unboxing on their YouTube video and they got your stickers and they got your cards and stuff like that, and they were like, hey, what's up, everybody? This is Peter from Peter's blah, 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 from Peter's Geckos, and then I got this, but guess what? I got me a ball python this time for Redwood, and look at all the stuff you sent me, and people just glowing up and so excited about stuff like that, Like, get to the point where, as a seller and as a breeder, that people are honored to advertise your shit on their channel. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, that's so crazy to me, you know what I mean? Because I'm the same way. When I get stuff from people, when I get stuff from Breeder Circle or Miguel and things like that too, I'm excited to show it. I'm like, hey, y'all, look how much money I spent with this dude. Look, like, you know what I'm saying?
This hurt.
It hurt. So it hurt, but it's so dope to have, you know? So that's how you want to be, man. You want to be able to light a fire under the people that you're selling stuff to inspire them to start building on top of that, man. And a lot of people go, well, I'm selling to my competition. How? you should be keeping better stuff.
Right. Exactly.
You know,
or don't sell yet.
Don't sell this. If you have a project that you're gonna get rid of that someone else doesn't have, and you're trying to push further because the else is doing it, keep it, man. It'll be worth more later. You know, and then that's where the maturity comes in at, because when I was early on in breeding ball pythons, my biggest issue to me was just financial responsibility and maturity. Like, I'm not the best with money. I'll be honest with you, bro.
Samesies.
I am excellent at making money. I'm terrible at keeping it.
You're good at spending. And you're good at spending.
Well, you know what I mean? I'm good. I'm great with making money. I don't know if I said it wrong, but
no, you did. You said it right.
I'm great at making money. Terrible at keeping it.
Right.
I like to spend money. I like to not be bored.
Yes.
You know,
and things just always pop up.
Yep, and then you know, once there's never an emergency when you need it to be.
Right. Exactly.
You know?
When you're flush.
Yeah.
Then you make an irresponsible purchase and you're like,
yeah, dude, you spend $3,500 on a snake that you got from overseas, and then now all of a sudden your kid needs braces.
Yeah,
and shit.
exactly.
I was like, oh, why didn't you need braces a month ago? You know.
Wait.
Yeah, you just. I'm like, dude, you can like.
They're already messed up.
Hey man, go to the military and get it for free. No, me personally, I always find a way.
Yes, and
There's always going to be a way, man. Like,
if you're not lazy, there's always going to be a way.
I always have a motto, man. Like, no matter how bad stuff gets or whatever, you know, there's always a solution somewhere, and there's always a way that if you can damn push through that, you can get it to work out. And that's what I always live by, bro. And like, I'm just, like I said, bro, it was just an honor to coming out here, hanging out with you, and somebody like I interacted with a few times online, and we chopped it up on the phone and things like that too. And when I call you, I feel like, you know, we used to drink back in the days together from here too, man. So, you know, from the bottom of my heart, man, I really appreciate you. I hope you enjoy this animal for years to come, and I plan on definitely buying some of his offspring from you. And I made mental notes on the videos from earlier of all the stuff to start messaging you about later on in this breeding season. You know what I mean? So
honestly, like, I said some nice things, I really appreciate it. But from the bottom of my heart, I'm humbled to have you come all this way out here. It wasn't around the corner. I mean, at all. And the fact that you volunteered and were so, you know, willing to do it and positive about it, I didn't really know how to take it. Because I'm, you know, we're all men, and just like we're all people in this industry, we're all human beings. But when it comes to this industry, I'm a nobody, and I understand that, and that's totally fine. However, for somebody that's been doing it for so long, to take the time to spend and to come over here and to talk with me and to do this, you know, that's awesome. And it's something that I think is super rare, and it ties into everything you're talking about, including your customer service. I don't see this as customer service.
Yeah.
I see this as like building a friendship, which is more valuable than any steak.
Yeah, man.
You know what I mean? So seriously, I really appreciate you coming out here.
Feel is mutual, man, and respect you a lot, and everything you do, you know what I mean, career-wise stuff too. And
likewise.
There's a lot of people who vouch for you that freaking love you too, man. And I was like, man, well, if you guys love him, then man, that's gonna be my boy and shit, you know? So remember, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Check in the description down below. Follow him on YouTube. Follow him on IG. Make sure this guy has 10,000 followers before the end of the year. Hit that notification bell. No, don't even hit it. Smack that bitch so you know every time a new video pops up. Thanks, bro.
Thank you.
Oh, man. Thanks, bro.
Appreciate it.
Deuces.